Hey guys, Andrew Esquivel here, back with another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the YUMSEEN A336 LED headlight conversion kit. Now this headlight conversion kit will convert your halogen headlights in your car to an LED. Now I've been reviewing a few of these so far. This is the third one that I have reviewed thus far. The specs are as such. Each bulb produces 3,300 lumens. Today we're also going to be working with the infamous 9007 headlight socket, which is known for compatibility issues and having problems far beyond just the way it's designed, and it makes conversion kits very difficult. We'll go over that in a minute, but for now let's keep on going with the specs. Each bulb consumes 36 watts and has an estimated lifetime of 30,000 hours. There was nothing on Amazon's webpage about a warranty of any sort. A lot of good bulbs will either have a 1, 2, or lifetime warranty that come along with them. I didn't see anything involving any of that information on Amazon, so it looks like you may only have 30 days to try this out and make sure everything works correctly. And you may have to contact the manufacturer if there's an issue, but that might be difficult because it is made in China. So, let's get on with the actual bulb itself. Now, one of the things LED headlights have to do in order to simulate the way they throw light out, like a halogen, is they have to throw light omnidirectionally. It can't be in any directional way, otherwise it won't throw the beam out of the headlight correctly, and you'll end up with scattered beams, which makes the bulb useless. What this bulb attempts to do is, instead of having any clever proprietary design, they just went for a simplistic approach where they have 3 LEDs, 2 facing one way and 1 in the back, to try and get 360 degrees of light going around it, to try and simulate what halogens do. Does it work? Well, we'll see in a minute, but let's continue talking about this conversion kit for a little bit. So as far as the materials go, this is by far the beefiest LED I have yet to handle. The metal is definitely constructed a little more heavily here. There's a lot more metal to it, and it feels stronger, but there is a downside to that. In order to dissipate heat faster, you want the fins to be thinner, and you want to have a lot of fins. I know this because I'm a computer technician, and we deal with this sort of thing on CPU heatsinks all the time. Thinner fins mean faster heat dissipation, and because they're thicker, that's probably why it's heavier. But it also feels stronger, like it's not going to fall apart easily. And moving on to the wiring set, this is also another interesting thing. Every other LED headset or headlight set that I have tried out has had a controller unit in between the 9007 plug and the bulb itself. This one has an integral unit, which is probably also why the bulb itself feels a little heavier, and probably why it's shrouded in heavier metal to protect the controller unit that's integral to the system. So, I was telling you that the 9007 socket is infamous for having compatibility issues. Here's why. Normally, when you have a light bulb, you plug the bulb in, and the gasket keeps it in place. Next, you would take the circular retainer lock and put it over the bulb and lock it in. That'll prevent the bulb from moving. And then you plug the wiring harness from your car into the bulb. Now, you can't do that in this order because the heatsink doesn't allow you to get the retainer lock all the way up to where the gasket is. Have no fear. Pretty much every LED headlight that uses a fan system and not a passive cooling technique has already thought of this issue. And most of them just have the gasket turned to the side, unlocks it, and you can slide it up. But here's another problem with this. Now, granted, this is designed for 9007 sockets. You got to be careful because every 9007 retainer lock is not made the same. In my case, we've been working with the Mitsubishi Outlander, made in 2003. So if you'll notice, there are little ridges on this retainer lock on all three of these little pieces. See, it's raised up by a few millimeters, and those few millimeters make a huge problem, because if we would put the retainer lock on the way you would imagine it would go, and then try to get the gasket back on, you can't, and that's a problem. You see, we take this off, those ridges are making the retainer lock sit up higher than it should. And because it's sitting up higher than it should, the little grooves inside of the gasket right here can't slide under this metal piece where it would slide over and then twist and lock in place. So the 2003 Mitsubishi Outlander 9000, I'm sorry, the 2003 Mitsubishi Outlander 9007 circular retainer lock has these big grooves that are only a few millimeters tall that prevent you from using the entire light socket in the first place, which means this light socket is no longer considered plug and play for the Mitsubishi Outlander. Now, I will give this brand this. All the other brands I've worked with have always said it is plug and play, no issues. Now, this one said this is mostly plug and play. In some cars you will have to do modifications. So at least they stated that in the description on Amazon, and for that I will not dock them points, because they said exactly what we're going to have to do. And what we've done is we've taken one of the retainer locks and I have filed them down so that those ridges are no longer there. Believe it or not, those 1 or so millimeters makes a huge difference. I'm trying to get this focus back on here again. There we go. Put it in, and although it's a little tight, you can indeed lock it. So I'm holding it by the gasket, holding it by the retainer lock. It's now locked in place. The modification is simple enough to do. All you need to do is file it down in whichever manner you see fit. Make sure you don't file it down too far, otherwise you'll end up, not having a little tab, and that little tab does hold it in place. So now that we've got the modified retainer lock, let's go ahead and put it in the car and see how well it performs. Alright, so we are at my 2003 Mitsubishi Outlander LS, and right there is where the light bulb goes in. Now we have to line up the little notches to make sure everything gets put in properly. This may take a little finagling, because sometimes the retainer lock can be a little tricky. Okay, so after just a little bit of finagling, I have the gasket in place and the circular retainer lock in place. So everything is good to go. It is really in there. It ain't gonna move or do nothing. And the nice thing about this system is because the controller is integral, we don't have wires going everywhere like we did with all the other LED units. So there's no zip tying that you got to worry about. You just plug it in, turn it on, and just let it do its thing. Speaking of, let's go ahead and turn it on and see the pattern that it throws out. Okay, so this is the beam that we are getting from the lights. And thankfully the lights are not scattered like on the lower end units. There's a lot of units in this price range that just don't have a design that can properly diffuse lights. That being said, I will say this. It's not entirely diffused. I would have to say it's slightly patchy based on my real-world view of things. And that's not so bad. Patchy is livable, but not what you should expect for your money. Let's go ahead and get in the vehicle and actually see what it looks like from the driver's seat. Okay, so this is what the light looks like from the driver's seat. And at first, it doesn't look half bad.
In fact, the usable distance of light that we have from here is probably about 45 feet. And then after that, it starts to taper off and get dimmer and dimmer as we go down, which is to be expected because in the United States, headlights are pointed at a downward angle, so that way you don't blind the person in front of you. When you turn your high beams on like this, that angle no longer applies and it will beam straight ahead, which is why it's illegal to drive with your high beams on. So let's go back to low beams for a minute and talk about something here. Let me kind of adjust this. This is about as good as we're going to get for adjustment here. So one of the things that I'm seeing is, although the light is definitely not scattered, which is very good, too many lights have scattered beams. What I do notice is a slight patchiness. And what that means is, even though we have light in all the critical areas in front of us, there are certain parts of the portion in front of us where light is a little dimmer than others straight down the path in front. And on the camera, you might not be seeing it as well as I am from right here, but there's definitely some spots to the left of the vehicle where it's bright and then a little kind of dark and then bright again. And I suspect this is because of the design of the bulb. As you saw, they didn't have any clever designs that were proprietary to their bulb to make it diffuse light properly for 360 degrees. What they did try to do is have lights all around the bulb to make up for that and throw light in as many directions as it could to try and equal the amount of light that comes out all around from a halogen. The problem with their design is they only met it about halfway. They had two bulbs that were on a 90-degree angle, and then diodes. They had two diodes that were on a 90-degree angle of each other, and then the last one just kind of skipped that. It didn't do another 90-degree and then a 90-degree. We have three bulbs, and it's a triangular design. And I feel that triangular design is ultimately what's causing this downfall. It is not super properly diffused because of that, and that's ultimately why we have slightly patchy spots of light. Now, is this light usable? Yes, I would say it is usable. If you're looking for a bulb in this price range, this one's not half bad. I have reviewed other light bulbs that use proprietary designs to diffuse light properly, and I like those ones better. The only problem with those ones is there was a controller issue on that one. But on this one, everything works as expected except for the little bit of patchiness. So the throw distance is not bad. It's usable. If we turn on high beams, it doesn't particularly throw the beam directly downrange that you would be expecting. It does widen the beam arc though, so you can see more to the left and to the right, and it is a little brighter directly in front of you. So for all intents and purposes, yes, this bulb does work, and it's not great, but I would consider it adequate for it to be safely used if you want to switch to something that'll give the road a higher contrast. But as far as good, usable, diffused light goes, the halogen light bulb is still king. So until we come up with a design that I can test that is able to throw light truly in all 360 degrees around the bulb, halogens still seem to have the best diffused light. And more diffused light means more usable light. It doesn't matter if the light bulbs throw 10,000 lumens. If the light is scattered or patchy, it makes it dangerous and inoperable, really. But I would say that this is a contender. It's not the best. The design could be better, but it's one to consider in this price range. And keep in mind, the $50 price range is still a entry to medium level bulb. So entry to intermediate. The high-end bulbs are going to run you more than $100. So For this price class, I would say it's a possibility to try out. If you have Amazon Prime like I do, you could try out the bulb, and if it doesn't work good for you, you can always send it back. But that's pretty much all you need to know from these things, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, show your friends, check out my other videos. I got plenty of them. And as always, I'll see you next time. Drive safe and have a good night.